Hey, welcome back to Resilience Builds. My name is Jake, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the suspension upgrades that we're going to be doing on our Chrysler Conquest project. So, we're going to be moving from the stock OEM McPherson strut suspension assembly to these aftermarket Ksport adjustable coilovers. So some of the benefits that we're going to see is we're going to now be able to adjust our spring rate, our dampening rate, and the ride height of the vehicle. Now this is not only going to help us in the styling department, but also going to help us out in the performance department as well. So first things first, they box this thing up nice and tight. This is like some foam. We got a little catalog from Ksport. I'll crack that open later. Some basic instructions, installation instructions. Now I've actually already opened this up, so you're gonna notice it's already a little dirty. It's not a true unboxing. Apologize for those purists out there. We have all of our adjustment tools needed so that we can ultimately adjust the coilovers once they're on and off the vehicle. All right, now for the reason you guys even came here. Here is the front left coilover. So what you're going to actually see is it's not fully the full assembly actually going on here. There is the bottom section, which I have already welded and I'll be showing you guys here shortly. But this is ultimately the coilover. So you're going to notice this one actually has an adjustable mount on top, which is great. It's going to allow me to really get in there and tweak things as I reinstall. But as well as you can see, if I modify these two, if I loosen or tighten, that's going to move this or compress the spring or uncompress the spring, and that's going to give us a different spring rate ultimately, and it's also going to tweak the ride height slightly depending on where it's at. The ride height is primarily going to be set though by how much we thread this stem into the receiver, which is connected, as you'll see in here in a second, to the actual hub of the vehicle. So some of the things I'm already noticing that I'm liking on this Ksport setup is it's not scratching easily. Yeah, I'm only using my nails a little bit, but I'm not sure if this is anodized paint or what the deal is, but it's nice. It's a good coloration. It's definitely pretty bright for this vehicle. But we're also going to be able to adjust everything from camber, toe, caster, all from the top hat of this thing. So that's going to be super helpful when dialing in the specific setup, or that's going to be for street or track. This is going to give us the adjustability we need there. Now I'm not totally sure what type of spring this is stock, so I couldn't tell you if it's like a Swift spring or something of a reputable name. But just from, again, the paint and the overall build quality, I am liking so far. I'm not sure where Ksport ranks in terms of, is it comparable to BC Racing or KW suspension? Not totally sure, but from what I'm currently seeing, again, it doesn't look cheap. Now, ultimately, we're going to be able to test the quality of this thing once we get the suspension bolted up and just seeing how it suspends the car, how it handles bumps, what's the feel and the feedback I'm going to be getting both through the steering wheel but also just from the body of the vehicle. So we'll be able to really judge this thing once it's all assembled and put together and dialed in correctly. Round two. Similar deal. No adjustments for the rears, but that makes sense. These aren't rotating really on the top hat very much. But as you can see, this is for the rear portion of the suspension, so this is ultimately going to lock down and in to the lower control arm. Again, we got the black and the orange. It's very Halloween-y. Ksport sticker, different caution. We have things for the brake lines and other attachments to the body. Just checking out some of the different like rubber isolators or seals coming around the shaft of the shock. This is what I'm talking about. This is how we're going to be able to really adjust the ride height of the vehicle. and we're going to go through how to properly set up a suspension. And I'm going to be learning with you guys on this. I'm not a master, so I'm doing a bunch of research on how to correctly set up and adjust coilovers before they ever go in and once they're in. So you guys will be going through that process with me, but I will be relaying you any information and tips that I find along the way. All right, now for showing you guys some of the modifications you got to do. If you have a McPherson strut setup, and especially an older setup, like out of a lot of these 80s sports cars, you're most likely going to have to modify your hub. And when I mean modify, I mean cut off the old portion or the shaft or the receiver that attaches to the hub and weld on this new receiver. Now, my terminology may suck here, so I apologize if it's receiver, the lower portion of the shaft, whatever. You guys are seeing it. You got to weld it on, and in this case, as the instructions will tell you, you want to cut off actually up to about an inch from the bottom of this hub assembly, and then you're going to slide, more likely pound, the new receiver and massage the old portion on, and then have a good professional welder weld on this portion of the new shock and coilover assembly. Now, what you're seeing here is just that I've painted with some anti-rust paint. This isn't going to be the final assembly, but just want to make sure that those welds aren't getting rusty, nothing about the hub's getting rusty. But we are going to be soon reinstalling the hub so that I'm ultimately able to get this project to move, because I got some other big news coming up for you guys, and it's going to require that this vehicle moves before it actually runs. Alright, now with all that said and done, I'm going to be showing you guys the uninstall process for getting the front suspension off of the Chrysler Conquest, showing you guys also a limited reinstall where I reassemble with the new coilovers back onto the hub and put the front suspension back into the Conquest so I can ultimately roll the car and the vehicle in preparation for a move. And remember, be sure to like and subscribe. Check out the older content on this channel if you want to see the earlier things of me pulling out the engine on this Chrysler Conquest, if you want to see removal of the exhaust and the overall build, what we're going to be doing to this thing. Make sure to go check it out on the Resilience Builds channel.
So for the next 8 minutes, you're going to be seeing me over a time lapse removing the OEM suspension, starting with the driver's side. Now, if you don't want to watch this time lapse, go ahead and jump to minute 16, where you'll get to see the finished product and my final notes on part 1 of installing the Ksport coilovers on this Chrysler Conquest. Now, for all you DIYers and diehards, I wanted to leave this section of the video in so that you guys can see everything involved in uninstalling and reinstalling the old OEM struts and putting in the new Ksports. Ultimately, this wasn't too hard of a job. It took me about 2 hours to do both sides. So I hope this helped you guys. Please feel free to use this as a resource to slow it down. You're going to see that my uninstall and reinstall isn't perfect. This is just how I did it. And I ultimately kept the cut up original struts to get an idea of the stock ride height. If you guys have any further questions on how I did this uninstall and reinstall, please throw them down in the comment sections, especially if you have any quick tips that would have helped in this process. Throw them down in there for the community. All right, I'm going to just throw on some rock music and let you guys enjoy. And voila, there you have it. Here is the preliminary install of the Ksport suspension on the driver's side of the Conquest. After the move, I did paint the entire lower receiver a chassis enamel black that you can pick up for Walmart for about $10. And here's the full assembly.
Good thing to know when you are building these coilovers is that each spindle is marked right and left, and that does correspond with the right and left coilover. So you'll see on here, this is the front right, which is going to correspond with the right-hand side spindle. So you can get those wrong. You can look on MKS Motorsport, Mike Sorrell or Mikey Sorrell. I watch his videos in order to learn more about how to install these Ksports onto Mitsubishi Starions and Chrysler Conquests. His content's great. Definitely something to reference if you're going to undergo this project.
Here's another look at the complete assembly. Now, when painting using that chassis enamel, you want to give it at least 3 heavy coats in order to give it that nice glossy finish that will keep it protected from dirt and grime. Also, keep a lookout for my how to pack a grease bearing video, as well as the up and coming big brake kit video. And with that, remember to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, throw them down in the comment section below. And you guys have a great day. That's a wrap.